Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us in ePodcast.com's webcasting for the. Today we have two gentlemen from Picochip of the UK on the studio to discuss about what's PamperCell and what's PamperCell technology. And also, I hope these two gentlemen will help us to get a better understanding of the PamperCell and PicoCell, which is our small residential-based base station, which is now very rapidly deploying across the world. And then also we ask a couple of questions about what our Picochip is now supplying in the worldwide, and also which core technology they are working on today. So, gentlemen, could you open this Q&A session introducing yourself or giving us a company profile on Picochip?
Okay. So I'm Andy Gothard. I'm the Director of Corporate Marketing at Picochip. We're a fabless semiconductor company based in Bath, established in the year 2000. So we have about 190 employees now. 100 of those are in Bath or so. We've got a development center in Beijing, which employs probably 60 or 70 people. And then we have various sales offices, including a very important office here in Korea.
Development center in Beijing, which R&D center, you are hiring Chinese engineers develop chip algorithm, or what kind of role the centers in Beijing?
So the development center in Beijing is mostly involved with software development. So the semiconductor design is done in Bath, and then the software stack and the FAP software, the femto access point software, is developed in Beijing. There's a lot of testing and customer engineering out there.
Could you give us a reason why you choose Beijing as your software development center?
Like all of these things, it's a combination of a happy accident and also some good planning. And actually, it goes back quite a few years when one of the academic institutions in Beijing was actually using our devices for some research projects. And so we found that they built up a big sort of pool of skills there in using our devices at that time. And so when it came to deciding where to set up a software development center, there was that pool of resources already there, and it was one of the obvious places to see. And of course, I have a great pool of those skills that we need there.
Well, so let me ask a question. Sorry, excuse me. And since Apple's iPhone made big splashes around the IT markets around the world, data traffic has been exploding, literally, actually. Increasingly draining 3G networks' capability. When do you expect the explosion will squeeze the capacity to the limit in advanced and matured countries?
So, in fact, that crossover point has already happened. It happened in 2010. And that's one of the illustrations that I wanted to show you this afternoon here. There's a graph that I quite often show in my presentations which shows that the networks are already unable to deliver the amount of data that's being demanded by the users in developed countries. So we're seeing this in the US, in the AT&T network, particularly when they took on the iPhone. That enormous growth in data traffic put the network under great strain, and they had to take some steps to cure that. But actually what it means longer term is we've got to completely rethink the way we build networks. We have to build networks not just with macro cells, but with a more intelligent and a heterogeneous structure inside the network, so that we can put capacity where it's needed, and we can build this exponentially growing amount of data that we need.
Some service carriers in China and Korea and Japan and some other parts of this world are in a rush to invest huge amounts of money to build long-term evolution systems, and beyond to accommodate such tremendous gains in data traffic. Were it not for a profitable business model, however, it might be difficult to get early returns on investments. So there are worries that the specter of another IT bubble will haunt the industry in general, which is reminiscent of dot-com bubble in the early 2000, in the year of 2000. Could you give some comments on these perspectives or some aspects?
So, I mean, I think I wouldn't imagine there's danger of a bubble, because I think, as we've just discussed, there's demand in the market for this data capacity. So we have to build the network. So when you say there needs to be a good business model in order to build the network, you're absolutely right. But there is already it's already there, because people are demanding the data. Now what we need to do is we need to build the networks out in a cost-effective way, and a way that allows the operators to put the capacity where they need it, where people are going to use it, and builds a network that will actually allow technologies like LTE to do the best job and to do what they can. Because one of the things that you find on a technical level, you discover very quickly, is that you need to be quite close to the base station in order to get good performance from LTE. So that means you have to build a small cell network. So taking those steps, you can actually build to that business model, and you can make a profit, and you can make a good business out of extending and moving into these new technologies.
So we have we have Wi-Fi access at home and office, and also to share the internet connection. And I think the femtocell and picocell are working the same way and Wi-Fi, even though the fundamental technical platform are quite different. But service providers are now trying to find some way to complement their existing 3G network. And one is to aggressively deploy Wi-Fi, and KT now doing that, and also SK, I think, of following that KT suite. But another way is your technology, like baseband chip for femtocell. This should be another alternative way to supplement or to share the heavy load on the data traffic of existing 3G network. So then we think LTE will come to accommodate. Is that right? This is a scenario for rollout of some infrastructure?
So, well, I think one thing I'd say, to your question, is that, SK are rolling out our technology in femtocell, as a complement to their 3G network. And I think that, Wi-Fi and 3G offer quite different things to the network operator, and in many ways the femtocell has the advantage, because it's an operator-deployed service. It's easier for them to manage. The billing system is much easier. And on a technical level, it's designed for many more people to go and join the same access point. What you tend to find with Wi-Fi is that actually, when you get a lot of people trying to use that same access point, the performance can go down, and it becomes quite difficult to join the network. In fact, I've just been to New York, and I had my breakfast on 4 consecutive mornings in 4 different Starbucks, and I couldn't get on Wi-Fi in any of them, because the shop was crowded, and there were just too many users, and there were other adjacent access points interfering in an unmanaged way with the Wi-Fi point I was trying to use. Whereas the 3G femto service is more of an operator-managed service, and there's more intelligence in the node. So it actually works more gracefully for a public access solution. So, so I think that's the background scenario to what we're talking about. Now, is LTE going to come along and solve all of our problems with data capacity at a stroke? No, it's not. We're just starting to see it now, and actually the initial rollouts that we're starting to see are macro cells. Well, so what we know is that those macro cell deployments can't deliver fast data everywhere, because, as we said earlier, you need to be close to the base station. So the operators are really very keen for us to move as quickly as we can to develop these new small cells, so that they can deploy their LTE networks in that cost-effective fashion that you and I talked about earlier, to make sure the coverage is where it's needed, and we get that maximum throughput.
Could you give me more detail? You just mentioned the operator can manage or supervise femto base station, macro base station, but while the Wi-Fi access point couldn't be managed, it looks like a separate island or isolated island. Well, quite different and quite. So, could you give me a more detail what we can get, understanding what's the difference? You said femtocell is much more intelligent. Wi-Fi is not so much, and also some billing system is easy to make billing system. Those kind of are some business advantage. What kind of technology can work for kind of advantages?
So inherently the femtocell was deployed for residential uses, was designed for residential use. So the femtocell was designed for residential use originally, and it had intelligence built into it. So fundamentally, when it comes out of the box, you switch it on, it looks around at the radio environment, and it decides how it's going to configure itself. So it can hear what the adjacent macro cells are, it can hear the next door femtocells, and it can choose its own scrambling codes and its own power level in order to accommodate to cover the area that it needs to cover without interfering with other people's reception. Now, what it can also do is it can periodically, again, look around itself and say, oh, has the guy next door bought a femtocell? Has the macro cell power changed? And so it can balance its behavior like that on an ongoing basis. Now, as we move to LTE, what's already built into that standard, and in fact to some of the pico cells that we're seeing already, is that the base stations can talk to each other, which wasn't possible with 3G. So the base stations can arbitrate between each other, they can communicate and say, well, I'm here, how can we best organize coverage? So you get a more intelligent mesh network type of structure. That's a little way off, but those are the kind of developments that in the femtocell allow things to be more manageable. Now, on the billing side, the simple fact is the billing system is in the 3G, the 3GPP specification already. So the billing system is there. Wi-Fi system, you can build the billing system into it, but you do need to invent something in order to do it. Whereas if you're using 3G, it's there already. It's secure because it's a carrier network and it's designed to be inherently extremely secure. And you've got that whole back office thing already done. So actually a lot of the Wi-Fi offerings that you see are add-ons to a 3G network, and the way the operator makes money is through having a 3G subscriber. If you're not a 3G subscriber, you can't get onto the Wi-Fi network. But if you're not a 3G subscriber, the operator has no way of sending you a bill. So going back to building networks that you can't make money out of, it's another example.
보충 설명을 좀 드리자면은 그 femtocell 같은 경우에는 그 오너가 오퍼레이터가 되는 거죠. 통신사가 이제 그 femtocell의 오너가 되기 때문에 거기에서 그 접속하는 어떤 단말이라든가 이런 거에 대한 걸 갖다가 매니지를 할 수 있는 상황이고, 와이파이 같은 경우에는 오너가 일반적인 유저가 되기 때문에 그냥 저희도 뭐 인터넷만 연결이 되면은 가져다 집에서 사용을 할 수 있기 때문에 그런 점에서 유통사 입장에서 봤을 때는 훨씬 femtocell이 더 유익한 거죠. 그런 점이 좀 많이 차이가 납니다.
제가 나중에 2부에서 다시 질문을 드릴 건데, 그런 어떤 인텔리전트한 어떤 그 기능들은 그 소프트웨어나 소프트웨어 드리븐으로 이루어지는 거죠. 그런 알고리즘을 만들어서 하는. 그건 나중에 2부에서 좀 더 자세히 좀 부탁드리겠습니다.
So as we've been informed that picocell is working together with SK Telecom, although we are here at KT, but to implement this LTE femtocell infrastructure in Korea. Do you have anything to talk about your design and marketing activities, some peculiar marketing activities in Korea you think about?
So I should correct you first and say that the system we're working on with SK is a 3G system. It's not the LTE system.
Oh,
it's a
I see.
3G
Right. Sorry, yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
So, Gino, I don't know whether you want to talk some more about our activities in Korea.
예, 지금 현재 그 피코치, 그러니까 한국 피코치 입장에 봤을 때 한국 시장이 굉장히 좀 크고 중요한 시장입니다. 그래서 저희가 2004년서부터 이제 한국 시장이 이제 인벌브가 돼가지고 지사가 설립된 지는 지금 한 3년 된 상태고요. 그래서 이제 굉장히 중요한 마켓이기 때문에 저희가 지사를 설립했고 계속 지원하고 있는 상태고, SK텔레콤하고 저희가 직접적으로 일을 하지는 않습니다. 저희 커스터머가 이제 저희 칩을 가지고 제품을 만들어서 그 제품을 가지고 SK텔레콤에다가 이제 공급을 하는 형태로 일을 하지만, 저희가 긴밀하게 같이 협조를 하는 부분은 많이 있고요. 그다음에 요즘에도 이제 계속 신문 지상에 나왔듯이 SK텔레콤 쪽에서 이제 femto 쪽을 갖다가 이제 자사망에다가 설치를 하기 시작을 했고요. 네, 거기에 대한 피드백이 제가 알기로는 굉장히 좋은 걸로 알고 있습니다. 그래서 그게 아마 예상보다도 더 많은 숫자가 확대되지 않을까 하는 그런 기대를 가지고 있는 상태고요. 앞으로 이제 연말 정도 되면은 좀 더 많은 사람들이 알게 모르게 femto의 혜택을 받지 않을까 하는 생각이 들고, 제가 알기로는 이제 KT도 그렇고, 그 다음에 또 다른 한국에 있는 이통사 중에서도 이런 femto에 대해서 지대한 관심을 가지고, 계속 마켓이라든가 이런 거, 기술이라든가 이런 것들에 대해서 계속 주시를 하고 계시는 걸로 알고 있습니다. 그래서 향후에, 그게 이제 내년이 됐던 언제가 됐든 향후에는 아무래도 이 femto셀이 전반적으로 한국 시장에도 널리 퍼지지 않을까 하는 기대를 하고 있고요. 그다음에 더군다나 LTE 쪽으로 이제 진화를 하면서, 네트워크 진화를 하면서, 스몰셀에 대한 어떤 그런 요청이 많아질 수밖에 없기 때문에, 그래서 저는 좀 더 이제 넓은 의미의 femto 또는 스몰셀의 어떤 그런 장비들이 앞으로는 대형 기지국보다는 좀 더 많이 타용되지 않을까, 그렇게 생각하고 있습니다.
이게 그럼 수도 보완 효과가 있다가 그러면 소비자, 그러니까 서비스 프로바이더 입장에는 아까 말씀하신 빌링이라든지 여러 가지 이제 지금 와이파이는 자기들이 제작 컨트롤이 불가능하니까 그런 걸 많이 가질 수 있는데, 소비자 입장에서 또 서비스 프로바이더 입장에서 어떤 여기서 가질 수 있던 새로운 비즈니스 모델이 어떤 좀 다른 게 출현될 수 있을지, 혹은 소비자 입장에서 가질 수 있는 어떤 장점 있는 게 구체적으로 어떤 게 있을까요?
저희가 지금 보는 상황에서는 어떤 킬러 어플리케이션이라든가 이런 것들이 어떤 femto를 이용해서 나오지 않을까 하는 게 이제 저희가 처음 이 비즈니스를 시작할 때 그렇죠. 기대감이 있었는데, 참 이상하게도 그런 킬러 어플리케이션보다는 어떤 스마트폰이라는 하드웨어가 나오기 시작하면서 그런 데이터 이용이 많아지면서, 그러면서 이 femto의 니즈가 훨씬 더 늘어났다는 거죠. 그거는 저희도 예상을 하지 못했던 바입니다. 그래서 스마트폰이 점점 확산되는 추세에서 데이터 용량이 늘어나기 때문에 결국은 femto의 필요성이 훨씬 더 커질 거다, 이런 생각을 하고 있고요. 그 다음에 저희가 이제 피코칩 입장에서 생각하는 건 뭐냐면, 그러면 지금 현재 3G하고 4G 얘기가 계속 나오고 있는데, LTE도 제가 알기로는 국내뿐만 아니라 해외에 있는 사업자들도 지금 LTE를 계속 올해 중에 시범 서비스 내지는 상업 서비스를 시작을 할 겁니다. 그렇게 되면은 문제가 되는 게 뭐냐면, 만약에 내가 갖고 있는 게 그냥 LTE femto다, 아니면 3G WCN의 femto다 했을 경우에 그 중간적인 단계에 있는, 그러니까 쉽게 말씀드리면 어떤 사무실 안에 한 일부는 LTE 단말기를 가지고 있고 일부는 3G 단말기를 갖고 있는데, 이 사람들을 커버를 어떻게 할 거냐. 그래서 저희가 생각하는 거는 듀얼 모드라는 걸 좀 생각하고 있습니다. 이게 3G하고 4G, 즉 WCDMA하고 LTE를 동시에 지원할 수 있는 하나의 시스템에서, 또 하나의, 저희 같은 입장에서는 하나의 칩에서 이거를 지원할 수 있는 어떤 듀얼 모드 상태의 femto가 어느 정도 가지 않겠느냐. 그러면은 저희가 저희 사업자분들한테 어필할 수 있는 건 뭐냐면, 저희는 이런 솔루션을 제공해 드릴 수 있습니다. 지금은 아니지만 이제 가까운 시일 안에 저희가 그런 듀얼 모드로 동작하는 칩을 공급을 함으로써, 그럼 저희 커스터머들이 그런 듀얼 모드 지원을 하는 femto셀 장비를 만들 수 있는 거고, 그렇게 됐을 경우에 사업자 입장에서 볼 때는 LTE뿐만 아니라 3G, LTE를 갖다 동시에 지원할 수 있는, 그리고 데이터에 대한 어떤 고객들의 불만이라든가 이런 것들을 해소하면서 또 그걸 또 망을 유지하고 매니지할 수 있는 어떤 그런 솔루션을 저희가 좀 다음번에 할 수 있는 방향으로 좀 지원을 하려고 하고 있습니다.
Okay, I have one femto cell in my office, and 7 people are sharing the internet connection by the small base station. Which benefit I can get compared to just stay connected to the macro base station? Data is a lot faster than on the macro. What kind of benefit I can get, or our team can get?
So, I think you're going to get faster data.
Yeah.
But I think you can also you can start looking at much more integrated communications, and this is kind of something that people are looking at around the world now, adding applications into the femtocell. So, for instance, at Mobile World Congress recently, we showed a demonstration with a company called Argella of a femtocell talking to an IPTV set-top box. The femtocell knows who is at home, so the femtocell can tell the set-top box about that. So the set-top box can intelligently inject advertising into the IPTV stream directed at the person who they know is at the house. So now that's a domestic context. But in a business context, there are similar kinds of things that you can do. For instance, you could make sure that everybody's phone rang at the right time and the right handset rings, depending on if you're at the office or if you're away from the office. You can use a single handset. Suddenly you've got a single phone number, and you don't have to have a landline phone number and a mobile phone number. And you've got an integrated voice and data system sitting there ready for your business.
The kind of IP set-top box is another business model for
Yes, absolutely.
service providers.
Yeah.
So after one more question, so we'll take a coffee break. So you need some coffees too.
Does it
it's
show?
very hot here. Right? So it's one question. Yep, you recently have introduced a new core technology called Pico Array. So could you tell us how and what it performs?
Okay, so the Pico Array actually is the original technology that Pico chip was founded on 10 years ago.
I see.
So it's a massively multi-core signal processing technology, and it's that very efficient signal processing technology that we've actually evolved to allow us to build these very low-cost, very low-power base stations. So that's really at the heart of sort of where the company's come from. It's also the programmable technology that allowed us to move our original base of telecoms infrastructure applications from the WiMAX area, which is OFDMA modulation, the same as the LTE. That's a programmable system. So again, that has given us an evolution route, and that's what's given us our lead in LTE. And we think we've probably given, that approach has given our customers probably a good 1 year head start in terms of building LTE small cells over their competition. So the Pico Array really is that, it's the core of where our devices have been built upon.
That's the sort of DSP?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks then. I have some coffee.